Hi Ariela, let's see what you've done in this new set of essays. I see that this is exactly 250 words. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see what you wrote here, okay? Experts throughout both the developing and developed world have debated whether the success, not successful, of a country's economy is based on having long working time. Some support this position. However, you need contrast here, okay? Personally, I strongly disagree. This essay will argue that using examples S from the UK and Denmark economies to demonstrate points. This essay will argue this viewpoint, not that, okay? Or this essay will argue this position using examples, etc., etc. Okay, so it's fine, but some of the grammar is a little off, so we just have to be a little more careful. Let's move on and see what you wrote in your body paragraph now. On the one hand, there is ample evidence that successful economies across the world work less. The central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, they consider the work's quality. Secondly, this is not a sentence. Okay, what you could have done is you could have put them together into one sentence. So let's try it like that. The central reason is twofold. Firstly, they consider the work's quality, and secondly, the worker's qualities. The worker's quality of life. Okay? For example, recent empirical research by the Denmark, careful with your spelling, government demonstrated that 90% of factories' profits have increased since working hours have been reduced to 34 due to the decreased number of mistakes from employees. It must not be forgotten that Danish figures, not number, figures for stress-related pathologies with an H has also significantly dropped. Therefore, it is conclusively clear that this is a successful economy. All right, let's talk about that for a second. Let's see, you said that profits have increased since they lowered the working hours. Okay. And then the pathologies. Okay. Okay. Okay, it's fine for the most part. I thought that this sentence could have been a little smoother, okay, because you said, since the working hours have been reduced due to the decreasing number. So I felt that was a little awkward and could have been done a little more smoothly, okay? Let me think if I can come up with something really quickly to suggest instead. Recent empirical research by the Danish, actually it should be here, the Danish government demonstrates, with an S, that 90% of factories' profits have increased as a result of fewer employee mistakes and shorter working hours, or maybe something like that, maybe. Like I said, it's just a suggestion, okay? All right, anyway, let's move on. On the other hand, although there is a case for the UK government benefiting from longer... No, you know what? You don't want although. Let's try it a little differently. On the other hand, there is a case for the UK government benefiting from longer working hour shifts that cannot be overstated. This is largely because companies, get rid of on, can hire fewer workers. For example, Boots covers its shifts with the 25% fewer employees compared to any other Danish big chain. Consistent with a T with this line of thinking is that the idea of working more to produce more. Thus, it is possible to state beyond doubt that this is the capitalistic economy's model. Okay. All right, I'm a little confused as to why you decided to write this paragraph, but anyway, we'll talk about it at the end, okay? Let me read your conclusion first. From the arguments, plural, and examples given, I firmly believe that countries should reduce working time. It is predicted to be a winning strategy with a Y, no IES, for any world economy, again with a Y. All right, so let me get to why I was a little confused here. It is not a bad idea to have a concession paragraph. What's a concession paragraph? It's one which talks about the opposing point of view, where you may have said, like you did here, I disagree with this this argument and so forth. So it's okay to have a paragraph like this, but it's important that you state why you have a paragraph like this, or you make it clear with what's wrong with this logic. Okay, so let me see if I can make it a little clearer. One thing that I would have done is, since this is your concession paragraph, I would have put it first. So it would have been introduction, then this paragraph, then this paragraph. Okay, because we talk about the side that we don't believe in and that we don't support. We talk about that first, okay? And then we spend time closer to our conclusion talking about the side that we do believe in, that we do support, that we do think is stronger. Okay, so how could you have made this fit into your essay? Well, first of all, you could have said here where you say that you strongly disagree, maybe you don't strongly disagree. Maybe, in fact, you see some validity to both, because here you didn't tell us what's wrong with this reasoning. Okay, I mean, the way you've expressed it here, it feels like, this is a reasoning that makes a lot of sense. So maybe you could have said that while some support this position, and clearly it follows the model of capitalism we see in much of the world, personally, I disagree with this, or something like that would have been okay. Then it would have made sense that you said here, you know what? This is what's happening all over the world in many countries. Okay? And what you could have done also is talk about what's wrong with this. Okay? Since you said that you don't support this, you could have said that, Boots does this, etc., etc. Yeah, but Boots also has, higher employee turnover, which, reduces its profits, or I don't know, something like that. Okay, I think you get my point. But you have to say also what's wrong with it. And the reason I'm stating that is because you said that you strongly disagree with it. Okay, so sure, if you want to talk about this, go ahead, but you have to tell us how this argument is kind of misguided then. Okay? Alternatively, again, I'll say that you could have not strongly disagreed. You could have said that, yeah, you know what? I see validity in both parts, in both sides. All right, so there are a bunch of different things you could do, but it has to make sense. Because when I read this, I strongly disagree, I didn't suspect this to be the second body paragraph, okay? All right, why don't we move on and take a look at your task 1. Okay, so let's take a look at this here. The income from Bensland. Okay. This pie chart illustrates the composition of Bensland country's income. All right, if you think about it, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, would you ever say this pie chart illustrates the composition of France country's income, or Spain country's income? You would never say that. So you could have just said of Bensland's '(S) income expressed in millions of American dollars in 2014, accordingly with the data collected by IMF. Okay, I wouldn't even have written this, to be totally honest with you. Like, just get rid of that expression there. It's just awkward. The sectors considered were, okay, and you named them, fine. The figure for agriculture exactly tripled the heavy industries income, and with its 45,000 USD millions capital value, surpassed the total contribution of the light and heavy industry. Okay, there's a problem here. We're not talking about tripling, okay? Tripling is a verb that you can use in a dynamic chart. This is not a dynamic chart. It's a static chart. And so what you have to do instead is talk about comparisons, but not with these action verbs like triple. Instead, you want to say the figure for agriculture was exactly triple that of heavy industry. Okay? Having reached 20,000 USD millions, the service sector represented, careful with your spelling, the second most lucrative country income. Or you didn't even have to say country's income, just get rid of countries. The minor contribution, how about this? A minor contribution has been brought from the natural resources sector with a value of 3,000 million USD. Broadly, half of the light industry and a third of the heavy industry of Bensland income. Overall, agriculture, get rid of the, covered almost half of the total income of the country, and services, heavy industry, light industries, and natural resources followed respectively. Not we're following respectively. Okay, so, yes, that's what I thought. It's 139 words, so it's short, it's under length. This is going to cost you in your task achievement, guaranteed. You did a nice attempt at trying to make some comparisons here, that's for sure, but it didn't entirely work, okay? So basically, what I'm suggesting is rather than starting with agriculture was triple heavy industries, tell me why you're talking about agriculture. So what I would have said here is clearly the largest contributor to Bensland's income was agriculture at nearly half of the entire income, specifically $45,000 million. This was more than double the income of the second highest, which was services at $20,000 million. Okay, and then you could say here that I don't know, maybe they made up 60, no, I guess you don't have to say that. Okay, so you could just say that there. At $5,000 million less was heavy industry at 15,000 million. And you could say that this was 1/3 of agriculture. Okay? So what you could do then is you could obviously talk about this, or you could have talked about the lowest, which I think is really interesting. You could have said the lowest contributor to Bensland income was natural resources at 3,000 compared to agriculture. It was, what is that, 15 times lower. Okay, so you can make a comparison like that. And of course, the second lowest contributor to Bensland income was light industry, okay, which was only $5,000 million behind heavy industry. So that's one way you could have done it. All right, just some suggestions there, but you didn't want to use words like tripled. You just had to do maybe a little bit more of this kind of comparison. You were on the right track, but like I said, I think it needed a little more so that you could kind of beef up your word count. It's very easy in a chart like this to become mechanical. And what do I mean by that? I mean, you start 45,000, 20,000, 15,000, 10,000, 3,000, then you're done. And then when you do that, it's impossible to meet that 150 word minimum. So you're going to have to do a little extension, a little kind of stretching out of some of these figures, okay? All right. Okay, so it's a nice attempt. You definitely got some of the things that you needed to do correct, but I want you to work on a little more, okay? Make sure that you're definitely reaching that 150 minimum, and just try to extend it a little further, okay? So go ahead, correct these, send back your corrections with a new set of essays, and we'll be waiting for them, so good luck.